In recent history, the economy has given its fair share of fluctuations. An exceptional example of these movements can be seen throughout the years 1914 and 1945. Events that took place throughout these given years created massive economical ramifications throughout Europe.
On June 28, 1914, the heir presumptive to the Austro-Hungarian throne was assassinated in Sarajevo, and it is now considered the most immediate leading cause of World War I. His death led to the costly war, leading to many deaths and economic consequences that were brought, like cost-push inflation due to the shortages of goods and services, and the after-cost of rebuilding damaged infrastructure and national debt. World War I was mostly a war of trenches. The early war movements and the invasion of France with artillery and machine guns forced both armies to build trenches in order to protect themselves. War is a very expensive process. Apart from the materials for the trenches, the weaponry, the troop services, and food, war would disrupt economies all around the world, as countries adjusted their focus from maintaining a prosperous country to defending themselves from destruction.
After the horrific events and years of trench warfare during World War I, the Germans surrendered. The Allies forced the Germans to sign the Treaty of Versailles. The treaty didn't just blame Germany for the war, it demanded financial restitution for the whole thing. This situation quickly turned dark and hopeless for Germany, as unemployment increased and the state demanded more tax from its citizens. Since the Germans could not afford to pay their reparation payments, they started printing money. This threw Germany in a state of superinflation, leading to the collapse of the German economy. The economic hardships that Russia faced in World War I led to the Civil War. Two opposing powers, Reds, otherwise known as the Bolsheviks, and the Whites, battled it out to take control of Russia. The Reds believed in communism and peace at all costs. However, the Whites were anti-communists. The Civil War caused the Reds to adopt a more severe economic policy known as war communism, characterized chiefly by the expropriation of private business and industry and the forced requisition of grain and other food products from the peasants.
On October 29, 1929, the stock market crashed, initiating a period of low employment rates and economic downturn called the Great Depression. From 1929 through 1933, consumer spending and investments dropped, causing steep declines in industrial output and unemployment as failing companies laid off workers. This economic failure brought homelessness and hunger to millions all over the world, and was one of the most challenging hardships for the world to overcome. During the Great Depression in 1932, the Great Famine in the Soviet Union occurred. In order to gain control of agriculture, Joseph Stalin imposed collectivization, which replaced individually owned farms with state-run collectives. This forced millions of farmers to move to state farms and work for nothing under horrid conditions. In total, approximately 10.8 million people died, and altogether, the famine did not have the outcome that Stalin had planned to support the Industrial Revolution. Overall, the famine lightly helped the Soviet Union's economy but had no global effect.
On September 1st, 1939, Nazi Germany invaded Poland in an effort to regain lost land. Polish-owned enterprises were seized, and executive positions were lost to Nazi leadership. An extreme loss of life depleted many economic assets, and industrial and arable lands suffered greatly, causing harm to the agricultural market. While Poland's economic state was hurting, Germany became prosperous with new economic negotiations between themselves and the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa was a German operation to destroy and repopulate Western Soviet lands. Poland became a battleground yet again, taking large amounts of property damage and losing agricultural land. When Nazi Germany had seized Polish land, all private companies and enterprises were confiscated, and Poland was separated into two sectors to aid the Nazis for the future. Germany left deep and permanent wounds in Poland's economy by exploiting their resources through sheer force.
The ethnic cleansing genocide led by the Nazi German Party led to the mass murder of around 6 million Jews. The party propaganda accused Jews for the economic disadvantages of the country, accompanied by diminishing needed resources like food during the war. It led to the idea of if there is limited food supply, why feed the undesirables? Even though it was expensive to kill this many people, it was seen as a future investment for the German population. It led to a disproportionate spread of the economy between different classes left after the mass murder.
The Japanese Navy Air Forces carried out a surprise military strike on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor in Honolulu, Hawaii. This attack led to many casualties. Prior to the attack, the Great Depression had taken place and the U.S. economy was recovering from it. However, World War II brought an economic breakthrough to the U.S. Millions of jobs were created after men left for war, aiding the substantial number of unemployed citizens due to the Great Depression. There was a 96% increase in industrial productivity, an increase in corporate profits, and an expansion of consumer goods. The fall of Berlin, Germany's capital, occurred after the Battle of Berlin from April 16th to May 2nd, 1945, when the Soviet Union invaded the capital. The Germans were greatly outnumbered and weren't capable of defeating the Soviets and defending their country. Not long after, Germany surrendered on May 7th. The fall of the capital, ultimately leading to the fall of the nation, left Germany's economy in total disarray. The country was split up into many territories occupied by the Allies. Germany's industrial output greatly decreased, the amount of housing was reduced, and Germany's currency became worthless. The three leading allies, the Soviet Union, United Kingdom, and the United States, held meetings to negotiate terms for the end of World War II and discuss post-war boundaries in Europe and how to handle Germany in Potsdam, Germany. Representing the Soviet Union was Joseph Stalin, Prime Ministers Winston Churchill and Clement Attlee representing the UK, and the United States President Harry Truman. These meetings took place after Germany surrendered in May 1945.
After World War II, the world's economy was split. The reason for the split was the geography of countries and how they were affected in the war. Countries like the US had a greater economy after World War II. US's unemployment rate was down to 1.2%. The United States were able to sell many weaponry to allied countries, employing many people, as well as have fewer casualties and property damage compared to other European countries. However, Poland, for example, was reduced to rubble. Their infrastructure was destroyed and lost most of their Jewish population, affecting their economy in a negative way.